again. Yes, part 2, episode 55 with our good sir Ben Ross. Say what up.
What's going on, everybody? Basically a week in a row or twice in 1 week, however they want to say it. Good to be back.
It's good to have you back. Yes. You already know the drill. Pop open a bottle of Zest vodka. You know what's up. It's the best flavored vodka. Can you solve a Rubik's Cube, though?
Yeah, I can. This is my kind of just fidget spinner, I guess you would call it.
Dude,
Yeah.
I remember seeing somebody solve it while juggling, I think is what it was. Oh, he was juggling like three of the Rubik's Cubes and solving them. I was like, what?
No, not me. I could do sub 60 seconds. That's about as good as I am. I just picked it up a couple years back. I was like, I want to try this. Can't be that hard. It took me a little bit. It took me about a week watching videos. I don't think I'm that well versed to be able to solve that kind of stuff. Just looking at it, contextualizing it. But yeah, just figured it out. Now I just always keep it on my desk and play with it whenever I'm bored or need something to do.
Like your coworkers switch the little colored stickers around on you.
Not up in here. They wouldn't dare.
So we scratched the surface last time, and this episode will be more, I'd say, dedicated to discussing finer details on things that revolve around acquiring a house and such. It's
Sure.
it's a very important thing that every person will eventually need to consider is, hey, I want to put myself up in a home. It's one of those things that you do when you grow up, and I'm about to that point myself. I mean, dude, I've been just turned 35 and I'm still renting, but not for much longer, and hopefully with the help of you. I mean, honestly.
You don't got to ask me twice. I'm always ready to go.
Dude, so I mean, I remember one of the things that you said was that you even put somebody in a house for like $2,000 down, which seems unconscionable. Can we start like somehow there?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of down payment assistance programs available for, I mean, it depends. It's usually state to state curated. If we're just talking South Carolina, that's probably a good starting point. That way you can at least conceptualize this on your end. Mm-hmm. They have, let's see here, South Carolina DPA or South Carolina Housing does like the Palmetto Home Advantage, which is a great one for first responders like police officers, firemen, teachers, nurses, stuff like that, doctors, where they can get $12,000 in down payment assistance.
Whoa.
Correct. Yeah, very nice. And then you have just like, I might as well just give you exactly what it's called. I get an email about it every day. So basically I get updates on the pricing because it changes. It's going to fluctuate with the market. South Carolina is the one that actually holds the loan. So they set their pricing. That's usually very, very standard with pricing, if not better. So you got your South Carolina Housing Buyer Program. You got your Family First Initiative, which is for like families with like disabilities and stuff like that. So for those that may not get as much income because they do have like a disabled child or even them themselves are disabled, there's a catty corner for that specific. And all these are kind of based on average median incomes. So it's not per se for the people that are making $250,000 a year, single family member, by themselves, because they do want to curate it towards the people that don't make as much and they fit within average median income. So if you look at the area and you look at the comparative income for the area, they'll do a percentage and it's usually capped at 80%. So if you go above that, that's when we would have to look at other down payment assistance options, which are still available. There's plenty of them. Palmetto Home Advantage, that's a really good one actually too. You can get up to 4% down, which covers your full down payment plus 0.5% for closing costs, not considering maybe getting closing cost incentives from the seller. So that's kind of where I had told you. And I didn't even use one of those for the one that I was telling you about before, where if this one's called an FHLB. It's like First Home bank or loan bank, something like that. And this one gave $12,500 in closing costs concessions, and it was for this guy and his wife and 2 kids, one on the way, I think. And yeah, they got a $195,000 home, and I think they paid for the appraisal, they paid for $1,000 earnest money deposit, maybe like a termite inspection, and maybe a couple $100 at the end. And yeah, ended up only coming out to, like, all those cumulative are about $1,800, I would say.
Wow, that's yeah, that's like
crazy to think, huh?
That's crazy, damn near unconscionable. And so how do they typically quantify the down payment, like outside of all of these like programs? Like you mentioned 4% of like where, and then all of a sudden that started to get me thinking, where I'm like, oh, okay, like, is that how it is? Like, where it's just a percentage basically of the home, and there's like a standard set kind of like percentage amount? Like, yeah, like everybody knows that it's typically about 4% down, and that's what it is.
Yeah, so a lot of people, especially, I would say the industry has changed, or at least the perception of the way purchase has changed over the last, I would think, 10 years maybe. I know when I would get calls a lot in the beginning, and I still get actually a lot of these calls today, people were ingrained that they should put 20% down. And I think that's still commonality within, especially a lot of the older clientele. And when I say older, I really only mean like maybe late 30s, 40s, because it was just rule of thumb. Like their parents had told them, like, no, you save up to where you have 20% to put down for a home. But with where home prices were, especially prior to 2020 to where they are now, like almost like you're seeing homes that used to be 220 that are 400,000, and it could be even higher than that. So like, how feasible is it to have 20% to put down? And the reason they were saying 20%, which isn't a bad rule of thumb realistically, but it's because they wanted to avoid something called mortgage insurance, which mortgage insurance is for any loan outside of a VA loan. I will say that VA loans don't have it, but pretty much every other loan, if you don't put 20% down or have 20% equity in your home, so your home is worth this much and your loan is this much, the gap is 20%, we'll say. So what's an easy one? $500,000 home, 20% of that's $100K. So if you put that $100K down, you have a difference of $100,000 between what it's worth and what you owe on the mortgage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But that's a lot of money down.
Correct. So don't worry, I'm going to bring.
That's what the loan pays for, right?
The loan takes the 400. The loan is for 400,000. You would put 100,000 down. That would be a 20% down payment. So you're putting 100,000 towards a $500,000 home purchase.
Right, but so that money that you put down, that 100,000, that's not like what's covered by the loan?
Okay, so I guess the way you'd want to think of it, the loan is covering just what you owe, what the bank is giving you. Okay, bank is giving you this much. You qualified for this much. You paid this much out of pocket to get this home. There's always going to be some sort of a difference. The only caveat is VA loans, veteran mortgages. They do allow, especially you veterans watching, like, dude, hit me up. You want to talk about getting into a home? I can get you into a home. You're talking 100% financing. They don't require a down payment.
Wow.
Right. So where I was going with that, the rule of thumb, and I think it's starting to, at least with my clients, because I let them know that I don't think it's realistic unless I do a good financial analysis of your situation, which I always do, to invest that much down. Because the reason that was the rule of thumb before is because there's things called mortgage insurance. And when you don't put that percent down, then you have to pay like a surcharge on top of your payment, which depending on where your credit score, that's where it varies. but it's like pennies in the bucket. Here's a great example. Clients called me, and I've done it for a few, but this one always comes to mind for some reason. They were selling a home. They were moving here to Myrtle Beach. They wanted to put, I think, 20%, maybe even 30% down. I went through the numbers with them. The difference between them putting 10% down, 20% down was $40,000. Okay. It's a lot of money to pull out of your bank. The extra that they would have paid, yes, their mortgage payment increased relatively because they didn't put the full down, but the mortgage insurance came out to like $30 a month. I would prefer to save the $30 and have a little bit higher of a payment than to liquidate an additional $40,000 out of my bank account. Okay. Does that make sense? Are you following?
Yeah, you're saying like go with the lower amount down so that, yeah, because $30 a month isn't that bad in comparison to $40,000.
The way I look at it is if it's $40 a month and you save $40,000, that's like 100+ months that you could have, I think that's correct. It's like 100 months that you could have paid that extra $40.
Yeah, that's like the same equivalent. Like, yeah, you're like, why would you do that when you could just not, like, you could save yourself $40,000?
Now, their mortgage payment, because you didn't put as much down, maybe that went up by an extra $150. But if you're doing it just to avoid that $40 mortgage insurance, not worth it.
Yeah,
so that's what I try to. That's where like the profession in me comes in, where it's like, this is what I need to know so I can advise you to do the right thing. Right. What I would say is like minimum, I think the minimum you can do outside of a VA is going to be 3% down. There's a 3% down home ready, home possible, conventional loan product. Really, that one's not my favorite. It's decent, but I think for the most part, you're better off doing a 3.5% down FHA, which is a Federal Housing Administration loan. It's curated towards first-time home buyers, but it's not really a first-time home buyer loan. It just is generally created for that. So that's what people then think what they have to have saved up. You look at a $250,000 home at 0.035%, so 3.5%, you'd have to have $8,750 saved up. Okay. There are going to be closing costs. Those tend to be $4,000 to $6,000, goes up as the purchase price goes up. But if we have a down payment assistance program that can kick in $8,000 towards that, you have a seller that's trying to get their home off the market and they're going to sell it to you for the $250,000 and give you $5,000 in closing cost incentives. Add those together, it basically paid for your whole deal right there.
Okay. So like,
I know I'm rambling on, so ask questions so I can break it down further.
Literally, because it's like I feel so unqualified for this conversation, but you're explaining it in a good way. So it's like, because what you just said pretty much got me to wondering. I'm like, all right, so you say basically like roughly around the $250,000 price for a house, that figure, and you'd be looking at, say, just hypothetically roughly around $8,000 down, but it could also be like an additional $4,000 to $6,000. So then that's like
correct, because you have just so people know what that is, your closing costs are going to be like your appraisal for the property, your transfer taxes, your recording fees, your credit reports. Just there's a bunch of stuff like your title work that goes in there. It does add up. So it's always an expense you have to factor in. It's not just like, okay, I have $8,700 saved up, I can buy a $250,000 home. You probably can, but that might not be everything. And that's where we have to kind of figure out how to find that alternative way to make up maybe the difference. Right.
So, I mean, then what I get it that this, like, people, I would assume that the homeowners are basically like, yeah, well, what are we looking at here? What do you need from us? What's like the littlest amount that makes the most amount of sense that you can help us like find? Like what? So then people are typically, like I said, yeah, it's obviously so many variables are going to change.
But that's my job. That's my job is to make sure like that's nothing you got like the buyer should have to comprehend. You should just have to comprehend finding the house that you want. Me figuring out first is like the ideal way to go about it is to talk to me first before you talk to a realtor. That's just not how the business is, which is unfortunate. I would love for it to be that way. The way the business operates, at least in the consumer's mindset, is they want to go look for a house. Okay. They want to look for a house. They go online. Usually, even to look at these houses, you have to type in your email address, blah, 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 like even just to look at it virtually on your computer, because a realtor has like these agencies, and I do like these realtors. So like, they're doing the right job. They want you to put in their information so they can reach out to you and be your agent. Okay.
Okay.
So you find you find this house. You're like, oh, I love this house. Realtor's like, awesome. Like, I would love to show it to you. A great realtor would send you to me right away, because the last thing they want to do, and the last thing they should have you do, is get you all excited. They show you this beautiful house, and you call me, and you're like, I want to put an offer in. Perfect. I go through the information. Can't do it. Maybe you don't make enough money, or maybe your credit needs a couple tweaks to it, or you don't have enough for a down payment.
Yeah.
So that's how the industry right now is. My team at Legendary is trying to get it so we get the clients first, so we can give them exactly what they can do, any options for them, so then they know exactly what price point they're capped at. This is your purchase power. These are the houses you can look at. We don't show them that, but at that point, they're at a realtor, and the realtor goes, okay, well, I can show them houses on this line, 250 grand, 300,000. That way you don't get upset, because I've seen it happen. People fall in love with the house, dude.
Yeah, I mean, well, then why isn't that? You're saying that there's ways that it should be, but it's not really quite like that. And Legendary, your business, like, y'all are trying to gear it towards where they run through you first before they talk to a realtor. Why isn't that already the case?
I think part of it comes from people don't really want to dig through finances. It's a tough conversation. For me, I don't make it tough, and I'm sure a lot of loan officers don't, but like, it's exactly what you said on last podcast, where you're like, you're like, how much did you need to have saved? And you're like, and you don't have to like tell me. I know it's, finances are kind of like personal. It's kind of what you alluded to. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same feeling that I think people have, whether they have skeletons in the closet because they remember that they let a credit card go delinquent or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Or they don't love talking about like how much they make. So I think that's part of the like consumer mindset is like, of course, everyone wants to go and see that beautiful house before they talk about how they can afford that house, or if they can afford. It's the dream before the reality is kind of the way I see it, which is why I'm like, dude, I'll give you the dream all day. Just hop on the call with me. We'll go through it. And even if the dream isn't right now, I'm going to show you how you get to the dream. And that's the reality of it,
How like, so then what's like, I'm just sitting back and trying to think about it from somebody that like just your average person, like where there's, I mean, in my eyes, it was like, you have to, before I even possibly think about buying a home, I need to be earning like twice as much money because, well, first off, for me, it's like, I'm just a DJ. Like, I don't make that much money. But so it's like, and I don't have like, it's not like a legitimate like job, so to say. Like it's very like unorthodox, like the way I acquire money, and it makes me worry about like if it unqualifies me. Like,
so here's the way you would look at it. Not to cut you off.
No, go on.
How do you get paid? Let's go through that. We don't have to go through specific numbers, but give me an example of what you go and do, and then how you get paid for it. It's
either like an under the table check, or it's like, I know it's mostly it's like 1099.
Okay.
Like, so that mostly, but also a lot of like for all my wedding
stuff,
for like my wedding gigs, which is like a big like portion of my income, that isn't 1099 and stuff. So there's things that I know for a fact that are not helping me out.
Correct. And this is what I always say, because people.
Oh, you solved it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Go on. Sorry.
So people that own their own business, it's a double-edged sword, okay? Because owning your own business is great. Because part of the reason to owning your own business is you can figure out how to itemize stuff correctly, from business expenses to putting it under like an S corp and paying yourself a W-2 and stuff like that to reduce the amount that you pay in taxes. Okay, that's where the business is like powerful. The problem with that you'll see is that people will write off a lot of stuff, and that may be the case just to bring down their total net profit, so their gross profit, any expenses, this and that, throw in whatever else, and it gives you to your net profit. Now they love showing a tiny amount for net profit because that's what they get taxed on. After they've written this off and this off and this off from their gross amount, they've gone from $100,000 to $12,000 for the year. So you want to tell Uncle Sam, and it may be true, but you want to tell Uncle Sam you only made $12,000 this year, and then you want to ask Uncle Sam for a federally backed loan as well when you told him you only made $12K. Like, that's where the double-edged sword is. You can only do it both ways every so often. Now, there are other products out there, and I don't want to dive into those, but there's 100% products out there. They're called non-QM, which is just not your standard loan product. It's kind of like hedge fund money. So they have different guidelines to help with people qualifying like that. But at the end of the day, if you're working a wedding and that's the primary source of your income, and you're not claiming it, it doesn't help you in buying a house the standard conventional way. Not saying there isn't an option, but it's basically saying that I make this money, but I don't tell you that I make this money. Well, if you don't tell the government that you make that much money, I can't tell the government that you make that much money and give you a loan.
Yeah. So like for instance, like, so Deslin, my best friend, that just got a house recently. So I was asking him, I'm like, dude, like what? Like, you not to like be like anything. I'm like, dude, like, you were able to buy a house? Like, I thought you had to be rich or whatever. And then like, so he was like, nah, basically like what he did to be able to like help qualify himself was because prior to what I'm about to say, he had been chiefly like door dashing and stuff like that as the primary form of income. And then he figured out that in order to get a house that he would need to have like actually have like a W-2 kind of type of job or whatever, like a regular just job. And like, so he got a job at like a head shop here in town. And after like, all he really needed to provide, bottom line, was like 1 month. Like after 1 month of working there, he was able to show that he had been working 40 hours a week for those 4 weeks in that month. And then that was enough to predicate the loan that I'm pretty sure it was an FHA loan or something like that. They simply 1 month's worth, like 1 month of work was literally enough to qualify. I'm like, what? Like, is this making sense?
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, the first thing I would say is that your boy should have called me because I could have maybe got him qualified off of his 1099. Only because 1099 can work fine. It's just you usually have to do it for 2 years. That is the caveat. Like, because when you're doing 1099, it is almost like you're self-employed. So you have to file your taxes differently. Now, if you're a W-2 earner, we'll just say standard regular job, then yes, you're right. Like if you are on a salary or you're on a set guaranteed 40 hours a week at this pay rate, 100%. I mean, all you need is an offer letter. You accept the job, you still have to work there, and they're probably going to, even after you close, they're going to stip you for pay stubs showing that you worked there.
They're going to stip you? Wait, what?
Stip just means like the investor is going to reach out and be like, all right, well, like I do want to make sure that they still work there at least like a month after closing. So they're going to ask you.
They really do that. Well,
Yeah.
and then what? What if you're like, I quit or I got fired? Then what? They pull the rug out? Like,
I don't know. I haven't run into that yet. My presumption would be we would have a solution.
yeah,
My presumption would be we would figure that out.
right.
My also assumption would be I would let that person know. If I was like, oh, okay, well, you're just getting a job just to show it. I'd be like, listen, I would love to do this. I'm not like, but you got to keep in mind, like they could do this and that could get us into this. So like maybe we hold this job or at least foresee the next setup before going. Wink.
Yeah, you'd be like, it's just not a good idea.
And it's not a bad idea. It's just like you got to keep in mind, like that stuff. It's money, dude. People always double and triple check their money, even the fat pocket investors.
Oh yeah, like the most. And so, well, then what would it be like for what? How would you go about? Like, let's mock this up. Like, how would you help me out?
I would first see what you currently have as documentable income.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, okay, what have you done the last 2 years? Give me that. Give me the lowdown.
Yeah.
You don't have to say numbers wise, but tell me what you've done and the similarity between it. So it's like, okay, well, I've done DJ events here, here, and here for X amount of time. Give me that.
Yeah, and so I would, because I've, I obviously file taxes every year.
Yeah.
I do. That's on my side.
Good man.
Or that is on my side, and I've got a decent credit score as well. So those things are on my side, and then and not only for the past 2 years, but I've been doing it full time for upwards of like 7. Like, anyways, even better. Yeah. So then there's that on my side, but it's not that impressive. Like, I'm probably making, who knows? Like, I still don't know exactly like how much I make just because the money comes in so many ways. But I would imagine it's really not that good. Probably like definitely under $40,000.
Okay. And are you saying that's what's claimable or that's in total?
Like,
that's what you
in total. Yeah, not claimable. What's claimable is even less, and that's why I'm like, God.
Which is fine, dude. Which is fine. Like, and that's what that's exactly why people go to look for a house before they talk to someone that's going to give them the financing for it. Because they have an idea, or at least maybe they've been told this and that, or they've done a little research and like, just show me the house. I just want to see the dream at least, I don't want to talk. But there's usually a solution. And like I said, sometimes the solution isn't, dude, nice, let's get you in a house next month. Sometimes it is like, well, here's the reality, brother. Like, you're not showing it. So why don't we do it differently this year? Why don't we claim everything we get? Okay. Why don't we bust our butt as much as we possibly can?
Okay.
Because what you could do is you busted your butt all throughout this year. You can go to file taxes. And because you've been running this business for over 5 years, you can go off of an average of 12 months. And then we wouldn't even have to factor in the other year that you didn't claim enough. And that's the stuff like you don't think about, where it's like, all right, listen, like we just change it up for a year and then you can go back to doing what you were doing before. But if you want to get a house, we got to make some adjustments to get you into the house. After that, the world is your oyster.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Like, yeah, that sounds transparent and reasonable. Like, so then, right, then I would adjust the way I'm documenting my income and stuff like that for like upwards of a year, basically, whatever. Now, if I were to like say, I would be down to do that hypothetically, of course. If it means putting in a house, that's not a big deal. For those that don't want to get, and that's not me saying that that's what I would do, I would probably go with option B. But if it was option A, like the difference in your options, how, like if you were to go with option A where it's like, I'm really just not going to do anything that different, versus option B where you make a concerted effort to have better tracking of your income and stuff. Yes, what would be the difference in your options between those two paths? Like, like 250 versus 500,000, like how?
I mean, that's a pretty big gap, but depending on how much you claim and don't claim, or how much you write off or don't write off, like that's definitely going to play a factor. Part of it to keep in mind is like, yeah, maybe there is a situation where, you're not claiming everything on your taxes, but you are getting pretty good income that we can see flowing in and out of your bank account. So there are loan products, and again, that goes out to a broker side of the business, where it's your non-QMs, where we could go off of 12 months worth of bank statements, and we average that. And you take like 70% of that income, and then you can use that for calculations because you didn't claim a lot, but we still see the influx of income coming into the bank account, so we can run off of those. That's the option. The only thing that does hinder you for is, again, like they might only take 60 to 70% of that income, and two, you're going with the broker outlet, which is going to naturally usually take a little bit higher of an interest rate because it's these hedge funds. They set the parameters of these deals, which means they set the pricing. Now there's a bunch of them which has gotten brokers to hedge their bets and like bring their pricing progressively lower because of that, where it's like, okay, well, now there's a lot of people that can do these bank statement loans, so the pricing has come down, so it's not as bad as it used to. The long story short, it's more of like, yeah, there is a way, but you're going to be taking a little bit higher of a rate. You're going to pay some extra fees on there. And yeah, it's just like, my boss does non-QM. I do a handful of non-QM loans. My boss is the freaking king of them, boss, partner, whatever you want to call him. I call him my boss because he knows so much about the mortgage business, dude. When I came in to like basically met him like 3.5 years ago, and we met off a freaking whim. I didn't even want to freaking, like, I went to do my own thing. Or I told you that I went to do my own thing and closed my first deal. Was watching all this stuff. I don't think I told you this story last episode. Did I? I
don't think so. It sounds new to me.
So just kind of doing research on how to like generate my own business, and I got a deal from like working my network, and then like reading books and watching videos of like, they're like, okay, you need to prospect the listing agent. So like I'm on the buyer's side and I'm working with the buyer's agent, but the listing agent's always involved because they're the ones selling the house with the sellers. So I did a really good job just calling her all the time, like, hey, just want to give you an update. Worked my freaking butt off to get this deal closed. I swear the last day right before closing, I made 65 calls probably for one file just to get this deal done. And yeah, I know, it was wild. I was like, and I got done. It was a lot. And I was like in a 4-hour span. I was just hammered. Like I'm like, dude, we need this done. We need this done. We're like, all right, we'll work on it. Hang up. 20 minutes later, if I saw something come through, I would like call that person again. Hey, it just came through. I need Jonas. It's like, oh, you're like, there's a line. I'm like, I know there's a line, but like, I need this deal done. And I'm a sweet talker on the phone. Like, I'll be super nice. Like, I just need it done. Sorry, dude. Yeah. So like, I did a great job. And like, then you do, and you're supposed to like take realtors out to like lunch, and you kind of like, you befriend them and you show them kind of what you can do business-wise. You kind of give them a pitch, okay? That way, then the realtor trusts you and they want to send you business, okay? They want to send you buyer clients. They want to give you opportunities.
Wow, now this is reminding me of something that my mom was telling me about, because I was like, wait, what? There's like legitimately a bit of schmoozing involved, like, and apparently there's like, yes, actually, like, Totally, yes.
A lot of it. I actually figured
maybe
out.
bring them flowers or something. Like,
Yes,
even.
Yes, dude. I've been handing out. We just ran out, but we have these legendary mortgage hats, and we just like made, I don't know, 100 of them. I've been handing those out. People love them. And it's like, you gotta be nice to them, and I do genuinely love a lot of these realtors. Like, it's just like, one, they feed me the other day, so I better be nice to them.
Yeah.
So I asked this lady, Tina, I'm like, hey, do you want to go grab some lunch or something next week? She's like, oh, I'd love to. How about breakfast on Monday? I was like, let's go. Like, okay. I'm like, perfect. This is my opportunity. This is my break. This is when I figure out, like, this is where I'm going. Like, this is how I'm going to build business. This is going to work. I swear, we're 5 minutes into breakfast, and she goes, hey, I just want to let you know, I already have my lender.
Wait, what? Hold on.
I'm like,
wait, what does that mean? Because
just means, like, basically she's already got her guy that she
doesn't need you is what it means.
Yeah. Like,
you're like, good, because this was really a date.
Yeah, I was like, good, because we're splitting the check. No, I just kind of laughed it off. I was like, hey, I get it.
What?
I was like, he's probably pretty good. She's like, no, he's really good, and like, you need to meet him. I was like, dude,
go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so I was just like, sure, I'd be open to have a conversation with him. She's like, I know you're new to the area and you're just kind of like build your own business, and like, maybe this is the good step for you for now. And like, I didn't want to hear it, but I still was like, yeah, you know what, I will. And she paid for the breakfast too. So it's not like she just used me for a free breakfast. Tina Lombardo, she's a saint. Like,
what? Okay.
So then,
not gonna lie, I was really wanting to know, like, low-key, high-key, who paid for what.
She did. She picked it up. She's like, he's a youngin'. I'm like, yeah, I am. So she's like, all right, I'm gonna reach out to him, and she's like, I'll text you back. I was like, all right. I wasn't thinking. I was like, whatever. She like called him. He's like, yeah, I'm not really looking for a loan officer. She's like, no, you gotta meet. Like, he's just like you. It's like, all right, I'll have the conversation. Like, a day later, we hopped on a phone call. We freaking just like talked about mortgages for an hour and a half. First time ever talking. Just like, it was natural. And I was like, dude, I don't know. This kind of feels right. And it was so hard for me to tell my wife that, like, was okay with me going out and doing this on my own. And we bought all this merch and branding for Ross Ready Home Loans, and like, that I kind of had to tuck my tail between my legs and not necessarily go, because this is totally different to what I was doing before, but go and like still have a big company, not a big company, but still have a company over top of me. They don't pay me salary or anything, but it's more just like having that an office to work in. I need one. I can only work from home when there's 2.5% interest rates, and all you have to do is pick up the phone.
Oh.
Right. But like, no, me and this dude, Mike, we've hit it off. He's my best bud down here. And I thought I knew everything about the mortgage business. That's what started this. I thought I knew everything. This man knows everything. He's only 2 years older than me. That's what I mean. Like, it's crazy. The difference. Is
that the dude that you are now like partners with? Is this your boss?
Yeah, because we started at this company, U.S. Mortgage, that he had worked for, and I worked for them for about 7 or 8 months. And then we were just kind of spitballing ideas, and he had basically paid to get the legendary mortgage trademarked, which is not easy to do. And we launched that bitch like 8 months ago. We started with 5 loan officers, and by tomorrow we should be up to like 10. So we'll have 10 loan officers. Our business has gone up we were doing like $3 million a month. We'll probably be doing 15, 20 million a month here.
Jesus. So then when you said that she said when y'all first sat down to that breakfast, she said, I already have what was the name?
Have my lender.
Lender. So
lender. Yep.
So then, yeah, explain this to me. So his job title is still a quote unquote lender versus you are a quote unquote loan officer, or
one in the same. Lender just means like, that's kind of the way real estate agents phrase it, is like the lender. We're the lender. We lend the money, which is 100% one of our titles. But a mortgage loan officer is just a mortgage originator or someone who does the loans for a lender. Our legendary mortgage is the lender. We're the mortgage loan officer for the lender. It's just the brand. It's the bank name. Okay. So the way realtors think of it is because usually they have like a set lender that they refer all their clients to, which could be multiple loan officers within a bank.
Okay, now
does that make more sense?
That definitely makes more sense. So he was really just another loan officer.
So he's a loan officer, but a branch manager. So he just holds down like an office, a branch, hires loan officers, hired me on, took me under his wing. It was the best decision I ever made. It was a tough decision because it was like, I was very confident on betting on myself. And I still have to bet on myself 100%. I just have extra resource tools to my disposal. But it was a hard pill to swallow. It was really hard to tell my wife. It was really, really hard to tell my wife that I think I need to go and put my license under this guy as opposed to just doing it with a broker shop, which doesn't really give you any resource tools.
Well, then why would you be because this is me. I know I'm trying to figure this out as you explain it, and you're doing a good job explaining it. But why would it be something that you would be afraid of when you just said that wouldn't be as many resources on the other end versus? I think it seems like you'd be better off with what you were saying. You'd be afraid of, right?
I think it was because like I think it's because I thought, and I think my wife thought the same, and I love her for this, that I could do it 100%. And the way I was before was basically 100% just on my own island, doing on my own. And I think that I just thought I knew more than I knew, or thought I could not do better. But I also went out in like the worst interest rate market. So that wasn't helping, of course. But I think it was just kind of like, what's the word I'm looking like? It was a reality check of like, dude, you're still only 3.5 years into the business. You're switching from where you crushed it. And everyone that I worked with, not everyone, there was LOs that I were for sure on another level or very similar to me, but the majority, 95% of them, like I knew the ins and outs of the guidelines, the mortgage products better than they did. And I thought I could do it on my own. I think it was just a reality check of like, dude, maybe you shouldn't bet on yourself right now. Like as much as you want this Ross Ready Home Loans and that you've been talking about it and creating it and pushing it, like it's just not the right time. And I don't think it ever will be the right time, truthfully. I think what we're building here is so much more fulfilling and has such a bigger impact. And I think like compensation wise, it just would never make sense to do it. I think the difficult part was like admitting that. And admitting that to my wife that still had that faith in me. And I think I didn't have the faith. Not that I didn't think I could do it. I think I would be better off doing it over there, if that makes sense.
That does.
Not to get too deep on you.
No,
it was tough, dude. It was tough. Like it took me a month for me. It wasn't like I had a call with Mike and it was good to go. It took me about a month to go, yeah, Mike, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Interesting. And then, okay, so then, wow, that's very insightful on your back end of it. And then if we were to, let's shift. We got about 15-ish minutes. All right, so let's shift to, let's talk about the housing market, I guess. So the first thing I think of is, dude, everything's just been going up in price, like everything, like inflation, it's ridiculous. Like where does that end? Also, so that's just me starting to get to the point. Like I've heard obviously about like things where like there's like bubbles and like the housing market crashing and like things like this, and where I'm just like, how is it so inherently like, what's going on with all that? Like, what's giving, like, what gives? Like, what's the forecast look like for the housing market? Is everything just going to get more expensive? And like, people like, I mean, it's from like it's from like minimum wage not changing, but everything going up. Like, it, I don't even know exactly. I don't even know exactly what I'm trying to like ask, but I think you know what I'm getting to.
I do. I'll take over. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people, especially, so there's been such an increase on home values, and the reason that happened is because during, like, right when COVID happened, interest rates dropped. Okay, the economy was doing super well under Trump the 2 years before COVID, almost 3 years before COVID, or maybe 2.5. The economy was doing well, so people had more money. Okay, investment accounts were up, liquid cash was up, consumer debt was coming down. Now, COVID happened, which I don't know the direct correlation on why COVID happened and interest rates dropping, but interest rates dropped. And like we said, 2.25, like stupid low rates, which opens up the buying field to a lot more people, because then mortgage payments go down. So their debt to income ratio, how much they're making, they don't have to make as much to afford this house. Now, with that happening at the same time, people are then paying more money for homes, because they're like, oh, I can afford it. I can toss an extra 10 G's. I'll offer. This is when, dude, like, and I wasn't even on the purchase side of the business, so I wish I got to see it more than I heard of it happening. But it just, people were bidding $50,000, $60,000 over asking price. Home was on the market for $350,000. They're coming in, walking through, offering them $410,000.
Well, why would they offer more when it's only $350,000 or whatever?
Because there was 10 other offers at $390,000, $400,000. Okay, so so then that increases the price of these homes right there. That's what shot it up so much.
Okay.
Now, what happened in 2008? I was not aware, but it was just like, I'm going to give you a very brief synopsis.
Yeah.
Shady lending. The mortgage side, mortgage bankers have been so heavily regulated for that, so no one should ever have a concern. It's like, dude, we can't even freaking cross our T's without making sure that it's crossed correctly. Like, it's very heavily regulated, which I'm fine with. I've only ever seen it this way. But if you haven't seen the movie The Big Short, I highly recommend watching that. That'll give you the best idea of what happened in 2008. But it was basically shady lending practices. There's stuff called variable interest rate loans, balloon loans, and when you have a big cluster of people that were unqualified to purchase the home in the first place, they were doing stuff called ninja loans, dude. No income, no job, no assets. How you get a loan? I don't know, dude. Apparently it was the Wild West out there, like, literally.
So that's it, because of all of that. That's why it's so heavily regulated now.
Correct, because there was a bunch of shady lending. Then the market changed, which made people, that's what the bubble popping. Market switched, payments went up, loans came due, people couldn't pay them, people lost their jobs, people foreclosed on their homes. They were doing cash for keys. So like, that really put a stigma. Do I think we'll have a bubble? No, absolutely not. There's not that type of lending right now to issue that type of bubble. The real bubbles that are happening, that will happen, are going to be your auto loan industry. Repossessions are up like 35%. Consumer debt, credit cards, 12%, or last time I looked, it was 11. I bet you it's at least 12. 12% of Americans that have credit cards are 90 plus days delinquent on credit card debts on their credit cards. And then you have the student loans. Student loans is another bubble, if you ask me. So mortgage, no. Homes will keep going up. I don't think it's going to be at the pace that we saw it. But yes, we're not going to have a bubble where they come down like we had seen in 2008.
So then let's face it. All right, when the prices, like you say, they'll still be going up like in the future. But then, yeah, and like no foreseeable bubble. But this is where I'm like, where does it? Do they just keep on raising?
Never stop.
No, but I don't think it will never stop, because what I'm trying to describe is like, so it will get to a point where they just keep on raising the price, but then people will stop paying because it's too expensive, right? So right.
So then so then naturally, and we've kind of seen that already, in between 22, end of 20. No, probably middle or end of 22 to present, where homes are on the market and they're listed on the market for really long and they're reducing prices. I was looking at a couple homes for my buddy out in Colorado. Him and his wife or girlfriend, excuse me, and his friend are looking to buy a home in Colorado, and they're sending me homes that were priced at like $799,000 and did a price reduction of like $72,000. So yes, the answer to that question is, when the demand for the home goes down, the prices will come down. Now, with everything else naturally inflating, it's still going to progressively go up. Inflation is the biggest probably impact on that, I would think, at least from what I've kind of read, and that's just like cost of everything's going up, which means the worth of the dollar goes down, which means the worth of real estate goes down, but not in a sense, because real estate is a tangible piece of land, tangible property. So I don't see them. I see it leveling off. What people really have to be on the lookout for is probably the next 6 to 12 to 18 months, depending on what administration gets in.
Yeah.
I would say either way it's going to happen. I think it'll happen better personally under Trump. That's my political view. I don't care if anyone thinks differently. That's the way I think. I love you either way.
Yeah.
But if it happens that way, we will see a good progression of rates coming down. Now, when rates come down, the same thing that happened in 2020 during COVID, like I said, is going to happen again, where people, and it could be potentially worse, which sounds bad. I don't know if it's worse. I don't know. But the way I see it, so many people locked in such a low interest rate on their home, okay, which means their payment's really low. Now, if they want to sell their home and get into another home, they're going to, especially if it's like a $400,000 home, they're going to go from a 2.5% to a 6.5%, 7%. Their payment's going to go up $1,000 at least. So people just they're like, we call it landlocked. They're just locked. They're like, I'm not leaving. I can't leave this $1,500 a month payment to go to $3,000 a month. I can't do it. But when these rates come down and that payment shock isn't as great, that's when a lot of people that have been sitting in their houses for years wanting to sell, but they won't because the interest rates are going to come out of the market ready to overbid, ready to overpay, which in turn shoots the property prices back up. It's convoluted. I don't even know how it's going to work or how it's going to happen, but there's a very good chance, and it'll be interesting to watch. I'm just trying to set myself up to take advantage of every single deal I can possibly fathom.
Yeah, it's like you have to know all these little variables in order to understand how you can do your job as best as possible for your clients and stuff. I mean, it's and it sounds like, yeah, no matter what the market does in the future, you will still have your job. It's just that the climate's just going to shift, seemingly. Yeah,
and that's what happened originally is the climate shifted. We went from crushing it when rates were low, and then rates went up and up and up. And then when you work in those big call centers, they cut your salary down. they reduce your commission per loan. The leads don't come in. The loans are harder to sell because the interest rates are higher. So you're getting squeezed. That was the main thing that I was like, bro, I'm done. Like they, at least all the ones I'd worked at, like they focused, there was like small teams that would focus on purchase, but I only did refinances. I never did purchase. The first $350 million in mortgages that I originated was 100% refinance. I didn't close a purchase loan until February 2023, which is crazy to think. That was the first time I did a purchase deal.
And
I know.
It's because of the nature of the market at that point in time, basically.
Nature of the market, the employer I was working with, yeah. But then like going out to this side was like, okay, I can learn the purchase business, because purchase is still always going to be there. People are still going to want to buy a house. People that don't have a house are still going to look to buy a house regardless of rates. Will it slow down? Sure. But if you look at the difference between that and refinancing a mortgage, I mean, there's no sense in refinancing to a higher interest rate. The only reason you would do it is to pull cash out of your equity or something like that, which we're coming far between. That's why I rolled the dice. I rolled it at the worst time ever. I think it was like looking back, I think it was the best time to humble me and to figure out how to do it and have tough conversations and have to learn how to really sell high rates, especially in the purchase environment. But like, yeah, it was tough, man. I probably had the first like 4 or 5 months. I think I only made like fucking 4 G's, maybe.
Jeez. Yeah. Like it made a better employee out of you, basically, going through the hardship. So what would be the best time? Like, what would you advise me? Like, ideally, like where it's like, all right, when should I realistically, like, I get the thing about like the year of getting like the finances on track. After that, like it any time would be a good time basically to pull the trigger.
Yeah. I mean, my thought is like, we hop on a call whenever you're good and we just go through, we dig a little bit. We figure out where you're sitting. Like, for all we know, you could already be ready.
Yeah,
we don't know that.
We know, right. And then, so we would analyze the income, or you would analyze the income or whatever. And then
I would tell you exactly how that, and I do that for my clients. Like, hey, like this is how I'm coming up with it. Like,
yeah.
And I'm well versed. So like, if you think otherwise, please bring it to my plate. Most people totally get it and I understand, but like this way, like give me the full analysis. Let me get the story this way. Again, if we're ready, cool, let's go. If we're not, it's like, all right, well, let's just do this. Let's maybe we work on your credit, but you said your credit's good. So, okay, let's make sure we keep our credit good as well. Maybe we have to pay a little bit more in taxes this year because we are claiming a little bit of additional income. But if you're going to look at like the net positive payout, it's like, okay, yeah, but you got a house and you bought it in 2024 or early 2025. And then that house in 2030 is $100,000 more expensive. It's like, okay, well, now you're net positive $120,000 compared to what you put in. So like, you got to look at it as like, yeah, I might take it on the chin for a year, but now I actually get a freaking piece of real estate, a place that I own that I could technically turn into an income-driven property if played correctly. That's going to naturally appreciate in value. And the only time it's really going to be worth nothing is if we get taken over by another country.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah, no, so it's like you literally can make like $100,000 of passive income basically by just buying in and just
here's a great example for you, okay? Buddy of mine, his dad, I'm helping him with a new build that he's buying, $1.25 million. Nice little freaking crib. But they bought a home in Charlotte. No, not Charlotte. Sorry, Charleston. That's why it was relevant. A little less than 4 years ago. Yeah, probably maybe 4 years. We'll call it 4 years. I think they bought it for like $475. They just sold it for like $900.
Wow.
So you're talking about $100,000 a year is basically what they made off that property.
Oh my God.
So that's the thing you got to keep in mind is like, dude, real estate's a great appreciating asset and you can live in it. And you can also have people live in it with you to help you pay your own mortgage. It's like, that's why I love it. I think it's a fantastic investment. Do I still believe in your stocks, your bonds? 100%. I still have a fantastic portfolio, but I let someone else do that. I do this, and I want other people because it's something you can also call home. Something that you can have your dogs run out in the backyard. Like, it's something that you don't have to pull up on your phone or call your financial advisor to see how your income's doing. It's just like you pull up, you're just like, no, this is my place. And, naturally it's just going to go up in value. And I said last time, and I'm going to start coining this, like, take a stake in America. We're the greatest country. Everyone, my own wife likes to fight me on this, but I will just tell him, Dad, like, we're the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
I don't mean that to gloat, but like, we have so much opportunity here, and being able to own your own piece of it, nothing better, dude.
Yeah, I love that. I really do love that. And you, over these past 2 podcasts, you've really helped like demystify a lot to me. And I get it. Like, there's so much still to like obviously understand, and there's only so much I should really need to understand.
Need to know,
yeah,
right?
like,
that's why you come to me. But like, knowing it is still nice, right?
Yeah. And so, and then I guess you would just like look into what you have access to, like MLS, like, and you just be like, all right, you can start looking at pretty much houses like under $300,000 like this or whatever, and then like we just pick and go from there, basically.
Yeah, so like what I like to do, I'll use Zillow because they don't give us access to MLS. We actually have the NMLS, which is just for loan officers.
Okay.
But like that's when I like really working with my realtors, and I think that's why my realtors trust me, is because like they get with me, they give me a client, I figure out where that client's at, and then I get back with them and go, like, hey, usually I'll issue like a pre-qualification or a pre-approval and be like, hey, like, based off of this is where they can afford. I see flexibility here. So you do your job. That's your job. I don't need to find houses. I don't need to show houses, but like that, you do your job. You come to me before you put an offer in, so I can make sure I run the numbers, and we're not gonna. The last thing, and I've had it happen. I had it happen often in refinances, and it never feels good. I've only had it happen one time so far in purchase. Is like getting someone under contract for a home, or starting someone's loan in a refinance and getting their hopes up and getting them excited, and then like the rug gets pulled out because they don't pass this guideline or this happens. It's a terrible feeling. It's the reality. It happens. I would be lying if I said I didn't make mistakes, but I find those very, very often up front and figure out the best way to take care of them, so we're not running into those. I don't want my clients or my friends or family being upset at me. I'd rather tell them the hard truth up front than not at all.
Yeah, and avoid that.
Avoid that, dude. It turns into a mess. I was thinking, and it's up to you. Like, I would do this like once a month, once a week, and we can just do like a freaking powwow. We can talk about whatever, dude. It's just like, to me, this is a cool hour to spend.
Oh, I agree, dude. I love you, man. I would love that.
Right back at you, dude. I feel like we're brothers, and it's like, damn, we're not that far away. We're gonna have to get together sometime soon.
Yes, dude. On this is neither here or there, dude. Seeing you with the headset on like that, it gives me such workaholic vibes. I fucking love that show. You're giving Adam Devine so well.
Adam Devine in the show Adam DeMamp, dude.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No, but you're right. His name is Adam Devine. I always get it confused. But Nirvana just said something. My wife Nirvana, what would she say? I can't even remember it, but my favorite thing is like, what are you, thick? What are you, thick? Just calling someone stupid. Oh, it's so funny, bro.
Workaholics is so good, and they've got a really good podcast now called This Is Important. And yes, it's so good.
I'm gonna definitely watch
It's amazingly good. It's like, because they stopped making the show, this is like, it really gives me that Workaholics fix, even though it's like just them talking and stuff. It's still so good. They carry out like all the things that they that you loved and adored in Workaholics, they still are like harping on all that stuff. Like,
Nice.
and it's just good. And man, I want to see Adam in person so bad here in Charleston because he films the Righteous Gemstones here in Charleston.
Really?
Yeah, and like on the podcast, he talks all the time about Charleston and that he's doing like, you know,
dude, let's
like,
just hit him up. I've had so much success on just like randomly hitting up people on Instagram. Like, let's just blow him up until we can figure out when we can go buy him a beer down in Charleston.
Exactly. Come on. Dude, that would be so sick if we could somehow arrange that. That'd be a little dream come true.
Just that's another thing. Visualize that stuff, dude. I haven't done like a visualize like a dream visualizer or whatever where you put like a, I don't know,
vision board.
That's something I've never done that, but I do actively write down my goals and I think of my goals and like it's the reality, man.
Yeah.
It's the reality. Like you think of that stuff. I don't know if that's how the universe works. That's I think my presumption of it. It's like it'll happen, man. It may happen in a different way than what you'd imagine, but like, yeah, stuff like that happens.
Dude, I like finally meet him and then I pull out the vision board to show him. I'm like, see, dude, look. And it's like this like big ass thing. And it's like Photoshop pictures of us hanging out together. Like I cut my head off and put it on somebody else's head next to him. I'm like, look, see, us having a beer just like we're doing right now.
That would be cool.
He's like, okay.
Like, all right. Like, we're like, well, we got your beer.
Yeah, here's us taking a long walk on the beach.
So that's the thing. So like, you know, they always say like, never meet your hero.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to meet Grizz. I'm like, I don't want to meet Grizz because what if he's a letdown? I don't think he would be. We know that.
Yeah.
But like, I do always try when I meet someone of importance, we'll say, even if it's like a smaller DJ that played, like I don't want to fanboy. Would that bother me? I don't think it would, but like I try to always play it cool, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're just like you because they are just like us. They just hit a big break or they do stuff differently and they're just cool and it's like they're still the same as us. We're just different. We're just a little different, man. So like I always try to not fanboy.
Yeah, so true. So true. It would be hard for me not to fanboy for Adam specifically.
Correct.
But I'd just be like, Popozo! He would know exactly what I'm talking about. And then I'd just be like, all right, all that aside, we'll end
it with this. Most famous person that you've met.
Probably it's gotta be Charlemagne the God. How about you?
Really?
Yeah, I was DJing and he came into the place I was DJing at, which is Bourbon and Bubbles on King Street in downtown Charleston. And he came in, and then on his way out, he was like, he shook my hand. He made it a thing to be like, hey, good mix. Shook my hand and I was like, may I please take a picture with you? And he was like, yeah. And then boom, we did it. And then he just left.
Sick. That's sick. It's a good experience. I think mine, I was going to say So Down. That was at like a post-concert meet and greet, which was cool. But this, I think if I think about it, I feel like maybe there's someone else. Dom from Big Gigantic, the saxophone player. Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 years ago at Hijinks. You've ever heard of Hijinks up in Philadelphia?
I've been there, yeah.
It was before it even started. I all of a sudden was just in the elevator with him. And I was like, you look familiar. I was like, you're Dom from Big G, aren't you? He's like, yeah. I was like, I knew it. And I even held myself back. I was like, don't ask him for a photo. Just play it. I was like, dude, you've been killing it. Can you make sure to play that new song with Nightmare? He's like, 100%. Well, I played it off cold, doors closed. I was like, oh, let's go.
I love that. That was a good story to end on. Y'all be sure to contact Ross Ready Homes on Instagram.
Yeah, Ross Ready Home Loans. Honestly, if you just type in like Legendary Mortgage, Ben Ross, or Legendary Mortgage, just go on our website. You can find me under there as an LO. But like, don't be afraid, dude. I don't fight. We'll honestly probably just have a couple of good conversations. And like, if you're there, you're there. If you're not, I'll figure it out. We'll get it done eventually. It's like, don't make buying a home scarier than it actually should be. And that's why I said to you, it's like, let's do it. Like once a week, once a month. I don't care. Just throw it on my calendar. Well, even if it's 30 minutes, like just something to get some people motivated and understand. Cause like, dude, of course I get compensated. I want to put anyone in a home. It only makes me more money. But like at the same time, it's like, it's real shit. And it ain't as complicated as you want to make it seem. And a couple good corrections, a couple good habits will set you up for a lifetime of wealth.
Exactly. And I hope this podcast, that somebody finds it valuable, and that they do actually reach out to you when they are ready. So, yeah.
Appreciate the platform, brother. As
yes,
always.
sir. I appreciate your time, and I will definitely, whenever I'm ready, I'm going to be hitting you up, dude. You're my guy.
Let me know.
I will.
You're waiting.
The Pursuit of Sound podcast is proudly brought to you in part by our sponsor, Zest Vodka. Zest is designed for people like us who love to have a good time, but without that terrible morning after regret. Okay, Zest started with an idea to make a healthier shot option. The market's flooded with high alcohol, sugar heavy products, let's face it, promoting a culture of excessive drinking. But Zest knows we want a more genuine, transparent, and healthier choice without sacrificing taste or experience. So after Zest studied consumer preferences and existing brands, they dug deep into better ingredients. So Zest boasts proudly half the alcohol content, but don't get us wrong, significantly less sugar and zero artificial additives commonly found in traditional shot brands. All right, crafting Zest Vodka was not about introducing just another shot brand. It's more about sculpting an experience. You know, an indulgence-free drink that upholds the pinnacle of taste and quality. They stand to revolutionize the shot market, guiding it towards a brighter, healthier, and more transparent future. Yes, Zest Vodka. So please join us poolside, surrounded by friends, and enjoy Zest Vodka, crafted for everyone seeking a healthier choice. Drink responsibly.